right, I tell you, live behind the camera is really interesting, I must tell you. All right, let's get into our talk time now. More than 60 suspected political thugs were arrested by security operatives during Saturday's Rerun legislative election, which held in Rivers State.
The election was held to elect representatives for the Eche Omuma federal and state constituency. Though the exercise went on peacefully in many areas, it was marred by violence and other irregularities in some others.
Voters once again returned to the polls in Eche local government area to elect lawmakers to represent the Eche Omuma Federal Constituency and the Eche Constituency 2 at the Rivers State House of Assembly. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) had fixed February the 25th this year for fresh polls after violence led to the cancellation of the last exercise on December the 10th, 2016. Unit 6 Ward 9 in Umuchim community was one of those areas where simultaneous voting and accreditation went on smoothly. Materials and officials of INEC also arrived early at this polling unit, as well as in many other parts of the local government.
In the past, you have strong cases of people being maimed and some other things, but this one very minimal. And I think, and I do believe that this will be the end of this unending INEC election in Eche.
As voting continued across Eche local government area, news of shootings and ballot box snatching began to filter in.
We've had the presence of persons who should not be in Eche at all. People like the man they call Ishi. Ishi's been parading all over Eche with some persons who are also not Eche people, whose purpose we cannot clearly define at this time.
Despite the peaceful conduct of the elections in several parts of Eche local government area of Rivers State, that of Ulakwo community was quite different. As simultaneous accreditation and voting was ongoing, armed youths allegedly stormed the area, shooting sporadically into the air. Shortly after the incident, another group of young men, allegedly sponsored by yet another political party, stormed the same area to counter the clashes. It took the efforts of a combined team of security personnel, including DSS officials, police officers, and soldiers, to contain the situation. Scores of the suspected political thugs were successfully arrested. The tires of the vehicles with which they stormed the area were all deflated, and eventually, calm was restored.
In the course of the suffer charge, to one of our points, they made them make an arrest. About 62 or 63 of them. We will come out with a clear announcement on the whole issue.
For now, the resident electoral commissioner in Rivers State, Anyedi Ikoiwak, says elections will be cancelled in those polling units where materials were hijacked.
Everybody is talking about INEC conduct election. No Nigerian is talking, the media is not talking about the violence that have been happening in Rivers, the people killed, the number of person men and so on. We are playing down on them.
Explosives such as dynamite were amongst items recovered from thugs during the elections. Meanwhile, some members of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Rivers State have denied sponsoring the recorded pockets of violence.
You are just telling me, but I think, because I've not exceeded this my unit, I think and I strongly believe that my party can never, if there is any problem in Ulakwo, know that my party insisted that election must be held in Ulakwo.
It's always very interesting when we go to Rivers State to discuss the elections there and the recurring decimal every time: violence, tension, accusations and counter-accusations every time. PDP will say no, none of our members is involved in this. APC will say no, none of our members is involved in this. Labour Party, no. So who is carrying out all of this?
I was surprised you mentioned Labour Party.
They're all parties, isn't it? Oh, you want me to mention all the 20 or something?
No, because the two gladiators are there, just the APC and the PDP, really. So.
All right, now we're joined by a public affairs analyst, Nelson Ekujami. Nelson, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to have you join us right now.
It's a pleasure.
Right. And we have from Port Harcourt, River State INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner, Anyedi Ikoiwak. Anyedi, good morning.
Good morning.
All right.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Now, let me start with you, Nelson. You have monitored elections even within Nigeria and outside it. When it comes to River State, there's something about River State that the tension that keeps brewing, the security challenges, the tension, the irregularities, and all of that. What is really different about River State that is different, from other places in Nigeria when it comes to conducting elections that you have seen?
Well, thank you very much. I don't think there's anything peculiar to River State that doesn't happen in other parts of the country, but it's just that it's just the fact that some political gladiators in River State, most especially, have decided that they will continue to embarrass us as the people and turn us into an object of international ridicule. Because honestly, the level of trauma the people of River State have gone through in the hands of these criminal elements, it's something that should give cause for concern. Because like we all know, election is supposed to be a festival of the voters. But what do we have in River State? We have had this election that is just taking place on Saturday, 25 or 25 of February 2017, was an election that should have been concluded by April 11, 2015.
Exactly.
So you can imagine what the people, they had an election in March 2016, and it was the same violence that broke out. People were killed, even security officers were killed, and INEC ad hoc staff was killed, and so many of them were injured, maimed. The same thing reoccurred again on December 10, 2016. So it calls to question the mentality and our seriousness as the people to deal with electoral violence. I think I give a big kudos to the security agencies. It's very, very unfortunate that we overstretch our security agencies, because I don't think somebody becoming a security officer should be a license for you to work yourself to death. The security personnel deserves a good life like any other person. But elections where you expect that even we should have maybe Boy Scouts, Girls Brigade, man o' war, people, you find a situation whereby you have to deploy avalanche of security personnel. For me, it is very disturbing, but I'm happy that some of these elements were arrested. All right. And we just hope that the authorities will do a diligent job to ensure their prosecution, as well as their sponsors who must be found.
Okay, let's bring Anyedi Ikowak here. Let's have your reaction to the report we just took earlier about 60 thugs arrested, or your general assessment of the rerun election that took place over the last weekend.
Well, for those who have been arrested, our opinion is that they should be prosecuted, and publicly, so that at least it can serve as deterrence to others in future elections. Election generally, you see, the election in a chair was a supplementary elections. And sometimes people just go into the elections, irrespective of what pronouncement you make about the elections, they keep calling it what they want. A lot of people keep calling it a rerun. We cannot be having a rerun on a rerun. A supplementary election is like a runoff elections, where you have the first elections and none of the parties or candidates meets the required constitutional requirements of spread or margin of votes and so on. You need to go into another election. In a presidential or governorship election, it will be called a runoff. And a runoff is decided by a simple majority. All right. In a parliamentary or a legislative elections, you can call it a supplementary. And we know what supplementary is. Supplementary is something that you gather to add to, augment what you had the other time. A chair, we must recall, had its own rerun on the 10th of December. A chair did not have a rerun on the 19th of March. That was why we have to have the rerun on the 10th of December. And since we could not harvest enough votes to meet the constitutional requirement, the margin of votes and so on, we decided to have a supplementary elections. And that was why after the elections, the votes that were gathered in the elections was added to what was warehoused and a declaration was made. That does not level of violence. Personally, I was surprised at the level of violence in nature, because this time around there have been issues of bringing people from outside River State, bringing alcohol staff from all walks of life. There have been accusations of people disguising to be members of to being students, but there are political parties supporters and all that. There have been all that. So in this election, we decided that we are not going to deploy anybody outside INEC, so that if you want to disguise now, come and tell me that you are an INEC staff when I know that you are not an INEC staff.
Okay.
All this was done to make people to have confidence in the process and allow the process to take place. We are also assured everybody at the polling unit as early as 7:30 to commence election by 8, and that's we did. But to the greatest surprise of Nigerians, these staff who arrive at these polling units, some by 7:30 were beaten up. By no, that is, you now have a situation where people come up with knives and guns and machetes and so on to beat people, collect all what they had, and you ask questions. Up till now, the people have not told us. Why? Because there must be reason for certain things to happen, except that what I can deduct is that people thought that by doing that, the election will be postponed again. And because it may be, we have to do a more thorough investigation into some of the things that is happening in River State. Are people using election as a platform for them to gain? Let us ask ourselves, these young men who comes to main people, are they using election as a day that they will get something from their sponsors? So that means that election must not end, because if election ends, it also means that their means of livelihood have come to an end.
So you think it's a business now?
I mean, thinking outside the box, this is what I am beginning to think.
Okay.
Because you have no reason at all to beat people. Buses who have arrived, you destroy the buses, destroy people, and if you were looking for material, maybe you would have taken the INEC material, but this one you went after everything, including personal items of the staff. And you know women would not travel to anywhere without carrying their small bags. All those women, their bags were taken.
Okay,
So,
Anyedi, let me put you on hold.
Mean that you wanted, I don't know.
Yes, Anyedi, let me put you on hold. Yeah. You're really opening a vista for us to look into this issue from another window. But let me put you on hold. We'll go on a break and then we come back to discuss this. Stay with us. Right, if you're just joining us, we are discussing the elections in River State. Now, the
supplementary election.
Yes, the resident electoral commissioner INEC in River State, Anyedi Ikiowak, is joining us from Port Harcourt. He said it is not a rerun; it is a supplementary election, and these are opportunities for us to get the difference between a rerun election and a supplementary election, especially in the presidential system or in the parliamentary, but we are running a presidential system right now, as the case may be. We also have Nelson Ekojumi with us right in here. Now, let's get into, Nelson, let me come to you on this. We know that one of the primary issues in River State from the first election in 2015 was the issue of security.
Definitely.
The one in March, security.
Security.
December, security.
Security.
Right
February,
now, security.
security.
Now, we also see the massive deployment of Nigerian security, police, soldier, DSS to River State for the election.
Yes.
And we still have this kind of violence. Is it that the capacity of the security agencies is so limited that they couldn't handle the situation, or they were overwhelmed by hoodlums or by cultists or by, criminals, as the case may be?
Well, the truth of the matter is that we, in Nigeria generally, as we sit here today, we know we have national security challenge. And it's as a result of the security system we're operating. A security system that is not localized. Because ordinarily, you expect that the person or the people providing security for, say, Alakpere, where we are now, should be people who are domiciled within this locality, that knows the nooks and crannies.
They know the sons and daughters
of
the family.
They know that this is the hotspot of my area. If I take this way, this is where I'll come out from. Those are the security. But what happens is that when elections are coming, 2-3 days to the election, we deploy security men. The security is not about physical presence of stationing security personnel at every junction or at every corner of the road. It's about knowing where trouble can spring from and being able to curtail it before then.
Preempt.
Because like we always say, a life lost can never be regained. And if a limb is amputated, you and I know very well, it will never grow back. So the way we deploy our security system is very, very faulty. But be that as it may, what has come out to play in Rivers State now is that there's serious security challenge in that state. And that is why, apart from all the 36 states in Nigeria, you can see that every election we've had in Rivers State, it has been one security challenge or the other. And it shows to you the level of a proliferation of arms. It was only in Rivers State that we had a party campaign ground, if you recollect, being blown up with dynamite, in which even journalists were severely injured, and party supporters and onlookers, were injured as well. So it calls to question the type of security system we deploy for election. For us, we have some organizations that even before elections come up, we do a sort of analysis of an area where election is going to hold. Look at this HA1 and 2, two constituencies, and we are unable to drive fear into the minds of anybody that wants to cause, security. Even
with the drones, because I remember the Edo election, for instance, the army had drones deployed, boats and gunboats and all that show of force. And
it shows, what this has shown us is that even these so-called people undermining our security, they are very, very confident that at the end of the day, even if they are arrested, nothing will happen.
Thank you. That leads me to my next question. The Electoral Act, Section 96 rather, of the 2010 Electoral Act, which deals with violence and being threatening someone violently, or the issue of violence. The penalty there is $1 million. You are either fined $1 million naira, or you go to jail for 12 months. Is that perhaps that is not a good enough deterrent?
It's not good enough, because even apart from election, because you recollect that Nigeria has a constitution, and that constitution upholds the sanctity of human lives. Whether election is taking place or election is not taking place, you don't have a right to assault my rights. So I think the time has come for us to sincerely and honestly look at our electoral laws, and also to muster the political will to deal with electoral offenders, not the small fries alone, even their sponsors. We should have a situation whereby when these boys, these young men and women are arrested for electoral violence, the investigation is done in such a way that we get those that are sponsoring them, such that such persons like the INEC resident electoral commissioner for Rivers State has canvassed, they should be publicly exposed, during the prosecution, such that even their party, we can even be proposing that their party should, face a penalty of, say, maybe for the next election, your party is disqualified. But like he said,
they said, it is becoming a business. So an employee wouldn't want to rat out his employer, do you think?
Well, I'm sure the security agencies have the wherewithal, to unearth these facts.
But in all of that, the law should be the law.
The law should be the law, whether it's election or no election. Even if I'm in my religious house of worship, it doesn't give you the right to come and take my life.
Right. Let's bring in Anyedi back in here. Now, we hear that some persons have been arrested. Now, make us understand, the election that is being conducted is an activity of INEC. And if it is being truncated or being obstructed, what is the role of INEC in pushing for the prosecution of anyone who is involved in disrupting or distorting or obstructing the work of INEC or the exercise of INEC on election day?
Yes, INEC prosecutes electoral offenders that have been investigated and the case file handed over by the police. The police are the institutions that investigate crimes. And when they establish a case, they bring a case file to us. We do the prosecution. The police will also witness, because there are those who have done the investigation, they also witness to that and so on. We have been prosecuting people in the courts, which the magistrate court, which the law allows and so on. And people have been convicted. This time around, I think maybe it's because people have been convicted in what I would call not actually open, or publicity not actually made. Because it's treated as a normal case in court. You may not.
All right, we seem to have signal problems from Port Harcourt. Okay. Let's come back to the studio. We'll try to fine-tune that, and so we can hear the INEC resident electoral commissioner of Rivers State clearly from Rivers State. Now let's come back to Nelson, the issue of voter enlightenment or voter education generally. Rivers State, if we have to put all the 36 states of Nigeria, Rivers State tops, or Rivers State is amongst the states with the highest number of enlightened populace, let's say.
Does that translate to voters' education? You might be enlightened, you might be literate, but doesn't really translate to knowing what it means to. There are two different things.
And even if you are enlightened or politically conscious,
yes,
and they're straight to your life, I'm sure that your education makes no meaning, because the self-preservation is the first law of nature. You wouldn't want to go out to vote on an election day that you might go there and never returned, or you might go there and end up in the hospital. Even if you have a family, I'm sure no parent will allow their child to go out and vote. And you can see the risk with which we expose our young ones, because I have a lot of pity for the INEC ad hoc staff. I sympathize with what they are going through. I sympathize with the security agencies, because even on election day, the security agencies, when they are on election duties, except those that are stationed in a particular spot, a lot of the security agents at election points don't come there with even a biro. They are there because that is what the law states, that no firearms or ammunition must be taken within a so-so meters of the polling points. And time and time again, we have seen this violence in Rivers. It shows that some elements are yet to imbibe the values that, look, democracy is about one man, one vote, one woman, one vote.
Go do yours and leave.
Go do yours and leave. That is about the will of the people. If the people make the mistake of voting wrongly, next time they will correct themselves. But for people trying to superimpose whatever they want on the people, I think what we should be calling for at this point in time is that people who are found culpable for, desecrating our electoral process, maybe we should start conversing that should be charged for treason, such that it will be the death penalty.
It's all right. We'll come back to this. I understand the lines from Port Harcourt are clear now, but let's go on a break, and then we come back to hear what the resident electoral commissioner of INEC from Rivers State was saying earlier. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast.
Glad to have you back. It is TVC Breakfast. It is talk time, and we're having a post-mortem, if you like, of the supplementary election in Rivers State, Ichie and Muma constituency, precisely, that took place over the weekend. And we have with us in our Port Harcourt studio Aniede Ikowak, who is the resident electoral commissioner the Electoral Commissioner in Rivers State. And Nelson Ekujimi, a public affairs analyst, is very much here with us in the studio. And here, back to you. Just a while ago, before the line went off, we're asking what is the INEC's role in prosecutorial process when it comes to people who are arrested. And Ekujimi was just a while ago also talked about the electoral law being weak in terms of penalties. What's your take on that?
Well, like I said, prosecution have been going on, but only prosecute those given to us by the police. After investigation must have been done by the police, the case file passed to us and we prosecute them. And since they may not be seen by Nigerians as I provide cases, maybe the media don't turn up to those cases and so on, where we have them in the magistrate court. And so many persons have also been convicted on electoral offenses. But I think we should go far beyond getting people. Most of these people are small fishes. And most of them are there because certain person sits at home and asks them to do what they have been doing. We should go beyond that to make sure that we get some of these big fishes. And the Electoral Act itself should be amended to allows for certain decisions to be taken about areas where you have serious violence. We are not even calculating the number of persons who are to have elections in an election that was supposed to be just a one shot thing, and you spend money every time you spend money, bring people, mobilize people, and so on. Then the law should look into some of these things to really see, do we have to repeat election in areas where there are violence? Who benefits from these elections? Because you have a situation where immediately the election is over, agitation commences the following day for another election to be held. And you begin to wonder, yesterday we've just come out of an election that people were killed, and today people are writing petitions all over National Assembly asking for election the following day. Then there must be something more than just calling for elections.
Okay, we seem to have lost that line again. But I hope we'll have Anyedi back. You remember that the report, the police report, DSS report on the rerun election last year in Rivers State is already out. And there were issues of INEC officials who were found culpable, 23 of them to be precise. And even some senior officers in that rank also being, according to the report, bribed to influence and swing election results in a particular way.
Well, it tells you very much that there are bad eggs everywhere. Even in INEC, there are some people who are still living in the past. But thank God we have a system in place today that is being refined in such a way that will always assure the electorate that their votes will count. We have a system in place today that if you don't have the TVC, it becomes very difficult for you to vote. If the e-card reader machine does not authenticate your name, it becomes very difficult for you to vote. And if your name is not on the voters register, it becomes difficult to vote. But that is not to say that even in INEC or even among the security agencies that we won't have bad eggs. But the good thing is that when such lapses occur, the ability of the system to be able to track such persons and ensure that they are diligently prosecuted to serve as a deterrent to others. Because if one thing you must get very clear is that sin is man's second nature. But the fear, the consequences of his actions goes a long way in deterring him from taking that course of action. But if we have a system in which people do whatever they like and nothing happens, a lot of people are watching, and they also told the same line. That is why what has happened with the regards, you also recollect that about 6 policemen were dismissed by the IG. That shows to you that they are ready to restore sanity. That look, if you have been deployed for an activity, it behoves on you to be professional, to be neutral in, in the discharge of your function, because that is the oath you swore, not to, rather you went there and you became something else. We should have a system in place that, we apply the full weight of the law on anybody that violates it. And, that is the line we must always toe.
All right, let's bring in Aniedi. I guess we have him back right now. Okay, now you have worked with, I know how involved INEC is when it comes to stakeholders, when the word stakeholders are called, political parties, security agencies, community, and all of that. Now, in the area of security agencies, we see that sometimes maybe their inability or complicit, but I want to use the word complicit. In the case of election, at least you have been there for a long time, you've worked with these people. How complicit is the security agencies when it comes to the tensions, the violence, sometimes that emanate from election activity in River State?
Yes, most of the violence, let us look at it, are unexpected. The security agencies are not there to maim people. They are not going to war. They are not going to arrest criminals. They are there to protect the electoral process. By protecting the electoral process, they are just there to tell people, look, you are not online, you are supposed to be here. That is what the security agencies are. Elections are supposed to be civic. It's a civic duty. So the security is not going there with the mindset of, I am going to kill somebody, I am going there to arrest somebody, I am going there to maim somebody. The security is going with the mindset of standing there to allow, to make people stand online, to make people be in line with the electoral process at the polling units. So when violence erupts in such a way that those are the polling units, that is why we have, when you hear of arrests, the arrests are not even made by the security agencies who are at the polling units. They call in those security men who may be armed, who are distanced away, because you are not supposed to go to the polling unit with even a knife, like somebody said at the studio, that even a pen, you cannot even have to go there, because if you have something that can injure somebody, you are not supposed to go to the polling unit with it. But when this all comes with, when they come with guns and knives and machetes and all that, what do you expect the security man to do? The uniform does not make him become a Superman. He's still a human being. So in terms of security arrangement, I think that the security are doing their best in the circumstance, because they are deployed for elections, not deployed for war.
All right, Aniedi, we like your reactions on the 23 INEC officials found culpable in the Rerun in election River State last year, which you were still the resident electoral commissioner there, and these 23 men were found culpable under your watch. How did that happen?
Well, if the men were accused of running foul of the law, most of those things are not done in the open. But the important thing is that they have been uncovered, and the commission is not shy away from punishing these persons. You see, the attitude in the commission, where situations, when election arises and you have people sent from outside, let talk about
all right, we seem to still have a challenge there. Okay, I guess this is where we have to end the discussion with Aniedi there. We sincerely apologize for that due to the distortions. But Nelson, as we round off gradually, you were mentioning earlier on that election is supposed to be a carnival. It's supposed to be a festival where you know, you look forward to it, where let us choose our leaders, you know, go out there. In fact, in Lagos State, for instance, remember election in some places where people rent canopies and they cook food and take to the people to vote and all of that. Now, how can we come to that level where we don't even need to see a soldier man, we don't need to see police people all over the place?
Yes, we can come to that level if we depoliticize the influence of money in our body politics. You realize that, like you were asking him a question about some INEC officials. You know, when elections comes, a lot of people have different agenda. Some people are going there to exercise their mandate. Some people are going there to, you know, perform their civic responsibility. Some people believe election time is time to make money. So, like he rightly identified, which is an issue we should thoroughly investigate. Election has become big business. That is why you recollect the amount of money the IG team, you know, displayed from, you know, the 23 INEC staff that money was seized from. So
over 100 million.
Yes.
Naira.
So we need to depoliticize the influence of money in our political offices have become too lucrative that it has become a do or die affair, because people no longer go there to serve, rather they are going there to become very rich. Because you look at our National Assembly today, nobody can say precisely what they hand. That was why when I heard that news that a senator has been sacked by the court and that he should return all the money he has, I was asking, is it the documented money or the undocumented? Because we've had situations to interact with even some of our senators, and they've told us that, look, at times you just stay in your office and they bring Ghana must go. That how can that they can't keep track of what they had. So our politics
in fact, in that situation in Akwa Ibom State is another big discussion for another day as to
yes,
the pronouncement of the court.
Yes. Go on. So what we can depoliticize our political system by making political offices less attractive to people who are only there to serve, who are only there to make money, but rather people who will serve will be willing to put themselves up for, you know, for political office. Then we should also embark on civic education. Let the people realize why are you going to vote, because we've had situations in monetary election. Somebody, even a voter, will come to the polling unit and is looking to party A agent. I'm available. Party B, I'm available. Is going for the highest bidder. That shows you that the man or woman does not really know what he's voting for. Wow. Because it's a 4-year mandate. You know, you see all sorts of abnormalities during election time in our electoral process. There's need for us to continually engage all the critical stakeholders in the society so that we all know the essence of politics. Okay. Is politics about going there to make merry or going there to ameliorate the human condition?
All
the
right.
ball is in our hands.
Nelson Ekujimi, thank you very much for coming on the program this morning.
It's a pleasure.
We also thank the resident electoral commissioner of INEC in River State, Anidi Ikewak, for joining us earlier. Although we couldn't have the clear lines to hear him towards the end of the discussion, but we thank him for coming this morning. And this is where we come to the end of the discussion today. Tomorrow, we'll be back again with other issues. We've talked about xenophobia today, and we have known that somehow it's not even xenophobia. We're narrowing it down to Afrophobia. And we have also learned that it is not rerun election, it's supplementary election.
It's supplementary election.
When you have a rerun election, after that, anything after that is supplementary election. It's good to know. Have a great day ahead. I am Mike Okwache.
And I am Busola Mitunwashi. Bye for now.